Welcome to Depthline. Today, we're breaking down Backrooms, the horror movie made by a 20-year-old YouTuber that pulled in over $330 million and became the biggest film its studio has ever released. Here's the question it asks. What if there's a seam in the wall of your store, and behind that seam, the building just keeps going? Yellow wallpaper, buzzing lights, damp carpet, no exit. The rules here are simple, and that's what makes them awful. You fall out of reality, and the world reassembles around you. Badly, from somebody else's memory, full of errors. Doors go the wrong places. Floors don't line up. And the things living there aren't demons. They're people, remembered wrong. Stick around, because the last shot of this movie is the part nobody stops arguing about. 1990. A researcher named Naren Warren, played by Avan Jogia, is working for a private outfit called the Async Institute. His team goes down into a space they call the complex. Naren falls 2 turns behind the group, and 2 turns is all it takes. He calls for help. He tries to describe landmarks, except there are no landmarks. Every room is the same room. Then something comes down the corridor and takes him. The tape survives. Async scientists sit in the dark and run that footage back, frame by frame. Same year, different life. Clark, played by Chiwetel Ejiofor, is an architect who never became one. He owns a furniture store that's dying. Sales down, creditors calling, marriage over. He drinks, and lately he's been sleeping in the showroom, on the display furniture, surrounded by rooms nobody lives in. Once a week, he sees his therapist, Mary Klein, played by Renate Reinsve. She's carrying her own weight. The house she grew up in got demolished for redevelopment, and her mother, agoraphobic, hadn't left the building in years, ended up institutionalized. Mary is very good at other people's damage and very careful around her own. Then, the store starts acting up at night. Lights drop in a wave, like somebody's walking the breaker box flipping switches. The display TVs pull static and show things that aren't broadcasting. Clark goes downstairs to check the wiring, half drunk, already tired of his own life. Down by the breaker box, there's a thin line of light in the concrete. It doesn't read as a crack. It reads as a seam. Clark leans in, reaches out, and the floor stops being a floor. He goes through. He comes up in a room that shouldn't exist. Yellow walls, wet carpet, a ceiling of humming fluorescence. No windows, no way out, just openings into more of the same. There's furniture in here, but it's furniture built from a description instead of a blueprint. Everything is almost right. Clark wanders and finds gear that isn't his. A pack, equipment, traces of somebody who was here long before him. That's what's left of Naren. And then he hears footsteps behind him, heavier than his own. And he runs, and by pure luck, he falls back out into his own basement. Here's what Clark doesn't know. Somebody is watching. An async scientist named Phil, played by Duplass, sees the whole thing on a surveillance feed, not the store's cameras. The Institute put eyes inside the complex a long time ago. They're just waiting to see who falls in next. Clark brings this to Mary, a guy who drinks, whose business is folding, whose wife just left, describing a doorway in a wall. You know how that lands. She listens, she's kind about it, and she does not believe a word. And that's the turn. Clark stops trying to survive it and starts trying to prove it. He needs witnesses, and he needs tape. So he pulls in his assistant manager Kat, played by Lukita Maxwell, and her boyfriend Bobby, played by Finn Bennett. Young, bored, up for anything with a camera involved. The 3 of them go down and step through. For a few minutes, it's a laugh. They film, they knock on walls, they narrate. Then, a corridor starts sloping down at an angle no building would use, and Bobby goes ahead to look. Something takes him off his feet and drags him into the dark before the camera can find its shape. Clark and Kat chase after him, which is the mistake. They break into a section where the geometry stops pretending. Arches punch through arches, staircases running into ceilings. The space splits them apart. Clark is alone. He runs through rooms that make less sense every time he turns. Two figures come at him, humanoid, but assembled wrong, like a person recalled by someone who only met them once. They corner him at a dead end. Then he hears Kat's voice. Clark sets the camera down on the carpet and goes looking for her. The lens sits there, pointed at nothing. Then somebody picks it up, lifted from below by a hand that isn't his. And Kat screams at him to look behind him. Cut to black. Time passes. Mary gets a message on her answering machine. It's Clark, and he sounds calm, almost settled. He tells her he's staying down there and he isn't coming back. No explanation, no cry for help, just goodbye. Meanwhile, Phil is home with his family, TV on, and a cheap local furniture commercial comes up. Clark's face fills the screen. The same man the Institute already watched on the other side of reality. That's when this stops being a research file for Phil and starts being a person. Mary drives to the store. Doors unlocked, lights on, nobody home. She finds the basement. She finds the seam. And she does the thing no careful person does. She walks in. A woman whose whole life is built around solid ground steps into a place that doesn't have any. It doesn't take long for something to find her. Clark comes around a corner, and he is not the man from her office anymore. Thin, twitchy, talking fast. He hears something approaching, tells her it's fine, tells her to be quiet, and then chokes her unconscious. She wakes tied to a chair. The room is shaped like a dining room. Table, chairs, place settings. 3 figures are seated at it. Imitations of people. Motionless, proportions off, faces almost finished. They don't attack. They watch. Clark plays host. He puts a knife into one of them to show her what's inside. A white, edible substance. That's the food down here. Then he opens the refrigerator, and inside is Kat's severed head. That's how we learn what the expedition actually cost. And then comes the worst scene in the movie, and there's no monster in it. Clark demands they resume therapy. Right now, right here. He wants her to sign off on it. The world failed him. This is where he belongs. Mary won't play along. She tells him his wife didn't leave because the world was cruel. She left because he never once took responsibility for anything he broke. It lands. Clark starts untying her, and that's when the thing the movie has been saving walks in. A towering, warped duplicate of Clark himself, dressed as the pirate mascot from his own store. He tries to talk to it gently, the way you'd talk to yourself. It bites into him and kills him. Mary runs. The pirate comes after her through rooms that are now assembling themselves out of her memories. She spills into a copy of Clark's furniture store, recognizable but wrong, the way a memory is wrong. And lying there in it is a chunk of concrete from her childhood home, the one they tore down. Cornered, she picks up that piece of her old house and smashes the thing in the face with it. The fight trips an async gas trap, and the room fills. A minute later, people in hazmat suits come through the doorway. They put the pirate down. They carry Mary out. She wakes up at the Institute. Interrogation room, table, Phil across from her. He explains it flatly. Async used to manufacture MRI scanners, right up until they found the complex. Everything since then has been about this. And for anyone who followed the web series, that's the lore walking straight onto the big screen. He asks what she saw down there. Mary gives him Clark's answer. It isn't another world. It's a bad copy of ours. Reality rebuilt from a memory that got it wrong. Then she asks if they're letting her go. Phil says that's not his call. The last shot is the cold one. We drop back into the back rooms, and the space is building new rooms out of Mary. Pieces of her house, her childhood, her grief. At the end of that chain sits a copy of the interrogation room, and in it, a deformed version of Mary, sitting still, saying nothing. It already took its impression of her. Whether she walks out doesn't matter. So what's this actually about? The backrooms here aren't hell, and they aren't another planet. They're memory going bad. A demolished house. A childhood built over. A city that keeps redeveloping your past out from under you. The entities aren't monsters so much as failed reconstructions of people, which is exactly why they land. Director Kane Parsons keeps strict continuity with his YouTube series. Async, The Complex, the found footage all carry over. The difference is, the videos were a document. The movie is about a man who found infinite emptiness more comfortable than his own life. If this breakdown worked for you, hit like and subscribe to Depthline and ring the bell so you don't miss the next one. Now here's what I want in the comments. Did Clark stay down there because he couldn't get out, or because he didn't want to? And be honest, would you step through that seam, or would you brick up that wall before sunrise? Tell me. I read all of them. See you in the next one.